Yeah.
So a couple of weeks ago, we were talking about class standings. You're sitting next to number 12.
Oh, gosh.
Yay! That's awesome. Congratulations.
Thank you. It's been many years since then. So.
Yeah, but she's known as number 12 around the house, and her.
That's funny.
I'm coaching my children to say, this is my mom. She was number 12 in her class.
That's great.
Mine was today. She graduated high school barely.
Yeah, when I graduated from college, our speaker.
Let's have a chat, talk this and that with PB and Jaisy.
Well, welcome to the PB and Jaisy podcast. I'm going to do this differently today.
Hey, I'm Jaisy.
I'm Sarah Patchett.
And I'm Bill Stedham. And thanks for being here today and listening to our show. And not often do I get to introduce a DOB.
DOB.
And you probably are wondering what a DOB is. It's just like an SOB. But it's not what you're thinking about. That means daughter of a broker. Get your minds out of the gutter.
Okay.
All right. Not only is she
goodness.
the daughter of a broker, she's a very good friend of mine, an SMU graduate. Sorry about that. But she leads a little over 1,100 people in one of the largest Century 21 firms in the world, and is just all around great person. Who am I talking about?
Ashley Conlon. It's so nice to be here. Thank y'all for having me.
Thank you for
Well,
being
we're
here.
really, really glad you're here, and you're probably wondering, what in the world are we going to talk about?
I am.
So we're going to talk about a lot of things, but just kind of tell us a little bit about yourself. One of the things that I've noticed is Ashley and Brian and I and Ann are friends. And one of the things that I've noticed is we've been empty nesters for a long time, meaning Ann and I. And Ashley's just become an empty nester in the last few months, haven't you?
Yes.
How do you guys like that?
Getting an Airstream anytime soon?
No, we're not Airstream. We like to go too many places that we want to fly to, so no Airstream for us.
Yeah.
Plus, while we're paying for college for 2, it's a little hard to afford the Airstream.
Yeah.
We could do a 10, but that's probably it. But our kids, both of them are in college right now. My oldest, Clara, is at Oklahoma State University. She's a junior, animal science pre-vet track.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, and then Taylor, my youngest, she's actually 18. She graduated a year early from high school, and so we didn't let her go off last year. So she went to Weatherford College for a year, and she is a sophomore now at Texas State University and loving it. So
cool.
we dropped her off in August, got her settled in her apartment, and went home for 2 days. And Brian and I went to New York for a week, and then we went home for 3 days and worked and got caught up in chores, and then went to where'd we go? New Orleans to celebrate my husband's 50th birthday. And we were there for about a week, and we just had a blast.
Wow. So much traveling.
Yes. We've been making up for lost time.
Yeah,
Did
definitely.
you say making out or making out?
Well, that too.
Oh, okay.
So how does that feel going, because I think the first one's hard, but the second one I would assume like it's the last one, right? So was that a lot different when like the second one was gone? Like, is that the whole world changed? I mean, lives changed?
Yes, the whole world does change. I will say it's kind of bittersweet because you miss them, but then they're having a great time and growing, and luckily we've got great relationships with both girls, and so they'll call us or we'll call them, and they actually share with us what's going on in their lives.
Oh, that's good.
And so that's really cool. And it's just neat to see them grow, not just intellectually, but just in terms of relationships with people and how they handle some challenges. Clara actually sent me a funny TikTok the other day that, and she said, this is an example of my conversation with moms sometimes. And it's a girl that's like, wait, you're telling me that I have to solve my problem myself? The one that I created myself?
Yes.
That's not fair.
Yes.
And so it was really cute when she sent that to me, and
so funny.
it's really
And
just
very
a
true.
great life. Yeah.
Well, I think your life gets so consumed with kids for so long that when it stops, it's probably like you said, it's bittersweet. It's like we have all this time. But so how are you guys filling your time? So traveling's one. I know you work a ton too.
I do. I started reading again.
Good.
When I went to New York, one of my friends, Jamie Wycliffe, recommended a book to me and actually handed it to me and said, you must read this. And it was a book about J.P. Morgan's personal secretary or personal librarian. And she said, you've got to read it. And it introduced this whole genre of reading for me that's historical fiction. And so I think I've read 5 books by that author now.
Oh, wow.
And so reading for pleasure is something I hadn't done in a long time. And so doing that, and I've started drawing a little bit again, and I'm not very good, but I'm enjoying doing it.
I didn't know you drew.
Neither did I.
I didn't know you draw.
So are we going to have your art displayed in any upcoming auctions?
No.
Now, when you say draw, are you like pencil drawing?
Yeah.
Yeah, I really prefer pencil. I did kind of a watercolor the other day and decided I probably need a class. I will say I struggle when I draw because I'm a little bit of a perfectionist, and so that makes it hard to be artistic. But I really enjoy it, just that solace really that you get whenever you're drawing and you get to think. And then I will say I've like reorganized half of the house.
Oh, yeah.
And so purged things. Brian was out of town one day. We went down for parent weekend at Texas State, and I flew back to go to the Easter Seals Boots and Barbecue event for our company. And the next day I was home alone, and I was like, oh, what am I going to do?
Yeah.
And I thought of all these things that I could do, and then I thought, okay, what is bothering me the most? And it was my garage. So I cleaned out the garage, and I may or may not have gone to the dumpster 3 times. Brian would die.
But that feels so good, doesn't it?
Yeah.
So Brian could listen to this, and he will know now since you.
Brian is your husband, by the way. Okay,
Yes.
just so everybody listening. Your
Yes.
baby daddy.
My baby daddy. We've been married 22 years.
Oh,
this year.
congratulations.
We actually
beautiful.
met when we were in 6th grade.
That's a long
and
time.
we really, we were friends-ish then, but didn't hang out in the same crowds. And he always jokes around that I was too cool to talk to him or date him then. But we used to play tennis together in high school.
That's
And so
cute.
did y'all grow up in Weatherford?
We did.
Okay.
Yeah.
So, and you're still there?
Yes, I swore that I would never live in Weatherford, never marry a Weatherford boy, and never get into real estate.
And you did all
and
three.
God laughed at all of them.
That's how-
And
that's
it's a
what
precious
happens.
life. Yeah.
So tell us a little bit about growing up as the daughter of a broker. So you've been surrounded by real estate.
Yes, daughter and granddaughter actually.
Oh.
So I'm 3rd generation, and I will say my parents were really good about not dictating or trying to push me in any one direction. And I really thought going through high school that I wanted to be a doctor. And when I went to college, I started actually at Southwestern University in Georgetown, Texas.
You look like a doctor.
And-
You look like you could be a doctor for
Yeah.
sure. Yeah.
Yeah, well, thanks.
You're welcome.
The sciences didn't think that.
Yeah.
And so my very first semester, I had biology, chemistry, calculus, an English class, and some kind of symposium. And I really worked hard, much to, my parents don't think I did, but I really did. And I earned a 1.825.
Oh my goodness.
And so that's really hard to recover from.
Yeah.
And thank goodness back then, if you transferred universities, then you got a do-over. And so when I transferred to SMU in January of my sophomore year was when I started there. I got a do-over, and the next semester got admitted into the Cox School of Business and majored in marketing and accounting with a minor in psychology, and that was so much better for me.
Yeah.
So a couple of weeks ago, we were talking about class standings. You're sitting next to number 12.
Oh gosh.
Yes, that's awesome. Congratulations.
Thank you. It's been many years since then. So
Yeah, but she's known as number 12 around the house, and her.
That's funny.
I'm coaching my children to say, "This is my mom. She was number 12 in her class."
That's great.
Mine are just to say, she graduated high school barely.
Yeah, when I graduated from college, our speaker was talking about those. You're either a summa cum laude or a thank God a laude. Yeah, and of course Magna too. But who was that?
Well, and I've heard on the real estate part of it, I've heard, I know a lot of kids that their parents were real estate, or in real estate, and they swear it off. Bill had one, has one, swore it off, and then at some point something changes. So what was that for you? Because you said you would never get into real estate. What happened and what made that change?
Well, my dad came to Dallas and asked my brother and I to lunch and invited one of us to come home and run the family business. And we were both working for banks or trust companies. I used to work for a company called Northern Trust, and my brother was working for a bank. I don't remember where he was then. And we were trying to decide who needed to go home. And it ended up being me, and it's been the best thing for me. I mean, it's been interesting to really think about the evolution and how I would have been if I had stayed in Dallas in the job that I had. And I probably would have been like this giant pretentious snob. And that is not who I am, and it would be a joyless life for me. And so it really ended up just being a great fit.
And did your brother stay in banking?
Yes.
He still is today.
Is he a snob?
No.
Okay, good.
No. Let me stutter. He's at Independent National Bank. bank. And it was really cool. When he went to work for them in McKinney, my grandfather on my mom's side used to be a banker, and they owned a bank. And so some of his old clients decided to go open accounts and took loans out that they didn't need to support the Caldwell family.
Aww.
And it was really neat. But Matt is as down to earth as can be and super smart. He's like the number 4 guy at the company where he works.
That's
and
awesome. That's
better
just
than
has
12.
a really great work ethic.
So everyone has kind of stayed in the family business, just in different aspects of the family.
Yes.
Yeah.
So growing up in Weatherford, became involved in the community. And it wasn't that many years ago that I saw that you started running a political campaign, did you not?
Wow.
Yes, I served on the Weatherford ISD Board of Trustees for 8 years. I served a partial term for somebody that moved out of the area, and which meant that I got appointed by the sitting Board of Trustees. And then when election time came, I had to run for that seat to be able to finish that unexpired term. And then I ran for 2 more terms. So I served about 8.5, 9 years.
Yeah, not only served, I believe you were president of the board, were you not?
I was president for 2 years, vice president for 1, and secretary for 1.
And is that something you enjoyed? Would you do that again?
I loved the ability to serve the community and really give back to a community that I felt like gave my family and I so much.
Yeah.
And I loved being able to try to make a difference for students. You know, I've got one daughter that's dyslexic, and we had some challenges in the special education program as a whole in Weatherford ISD at that time. And being in the middle of it, I could see the places where things were broken and had a bigger voice than what a lot of people did because I was on the board, and they were able to research and restructure, and I think that they're really serving the kids at Weatherford ISD very well now.
That's
in that
fantastic.
area. And so it was important to me to give back. I will tell you, I learned so much about myself as we did that, especially the 2 years that I served as board president, because it's a very political, and I'm not really a political person. It's a very political seat, and you know there's specific rules and guidelines that we're supposed to follow according to the state. And I had some board members that didn't necessarily want to follow them, and so we had some rough conversations. And it really taught me to be courageous and quick. And because I would kind of procrastinate on those things that I needed to handle that weren't going to be fun. And I couldn't do that. Weatherford ISD couldn't afford for me to. So
I didn't know that the school board was a political thing until I had kids and stuff like that, where I'm like, oh, that's, you have to run for these things. It's like an election. It's political. But thank you so much for serving and using your own life experience with your kids to better a community that you guys are involved in for other parents that are going to be having students in their school. That gives back so much to generations and kids that are probably going to be, that will be running our world at some point.
Absolutely.
Well, and they pay you like, what, $1 million a year to do that?
$0. Yes.
Yeah, you have to spend money to get there.
Yeah.
And then people take pot shots at you because they can.
Or your kids.
Yeah. And you get such a large salary. That it's just remarkable when people will give back and do the things necessary to better involvement in everything, whether it's a school board or any board. So that's awesome.
And so you said that was for 8 years?
I did, yes.
It's a long time.
It was.
Yeah.
It was a great experience. I'm really glad I did it. And they actually called the other day to ask if I would serve in some other way for a little while. And right now my plate's pretty full. And so I had to decline. But at some point I'll probably go back and do something to serve again. But I don't think I'll serve as a trustee again.
Yeah, that's a lot. That's
Never
a big
say never. I'm learning
responsibility.
not to do that.
So now, fasting forward to now, your current position with Century 21 Judge Fite Company is?
I'm the general sales manager.
Yeah.
And so I'm responsible for the brokerage arm of our company.
So how did that transition happen from your father being a broker to now being with Century 21?
Yeah, great question. So in 2002, my dad came to me and asked if I wanted to finish buying out the family business. And I was a fairly newlywed. I mean, we were only 2 years, but we had our first baby, and Clara was about 3 months old, actually, whenever we sold. And Dad said, do you want to finish buying me out? I'm tired. I don't want to do this anymore. And I said, I don't know. Let me go home and talk to Brian. And Brian and I talked about it, and he really wanted to move to Colorado. And I was like, okay, I'm game. We could do that. And so we decided that no, we didn't want to buy it. And then we thought about who we wanted to sell to. And there were 2 brokerages that we were willing to sell to. And they were brokerages that we felt like did what we did and had the heart that we did in terms of wanting to make sure and serve the real estate professionals and the buyers and sellers really well. And so we reached out to those two companies. One of them was Century 21 Judge Fite. The other company had loose lips, and so we ended up with 3 offers and ended up selecting the Judge Fite company. It was really funny when my dad got the first letter of intent from Jim on the purchase. It included a provision that I had to stay on as the manager for a period of time.
Wow.
And it was hilarious because my dad storms out of the office, and my desk was right by the front door, a little office there, and he storms out and the door slams behind him, and I see him pacing, and I thought, what in the heck is going on? And so I walked outside and said, is everything okay? Because he's never mad. I mean, he's like just the most cool guy. And he goes, Jim Fite sent an offer, and the offer's fine, but he wants me to sell you. And I said, well, what are you going to do, give me away? Yeah. And it was really funny. So they took me out, but then Jim and I were able to work out things. And my initial agreement with them was that I would work for the Judge Fite company for 2 years. And at that time, I really thought I would work for 2 years and either move somewhere else and do something different, or possibly go back and work for the trust company, because I had a career that I loved before I got into real estate. But then what happened is the business part of it was different. And I got to look at things from a larger perspective than just Weatherford, Texas. And there was just more opportunity and more growth. And Jim sent all of us on the leadership team actually to a class called Orbit at the time, which was the first leadership development class I took that was specific to real estate. And I got the bug. I don't know how I'm going to ever retire because I love what I do.
And that was 20 years ago.
Yes.
Wow.
It's insane.
And y'all never moved to Colorado?
Never. No, we visited a couple of times.
So Ashley won't say this, but I'll say it. So she and I at the time, this was back in 2002, ran the 2 smallest offices in the company.
Hold on, how old were you, Jaisy?
Wait, what year?
02.
11?
Okay, well, sorry.
All right. So when you were 11.
Yeah, when you were 11, we were running the 2 smallest offices in one of the largest Century 21s in the world. And Ashley actually beat me. We both ran offices with W's in them. I had Waxahachie. Ashley had Weatherford. But we ran those to some of the top offices in our company. So Ashley earned the position as general sales manager without any doubt whatsoever. But I'm proud to say that we kicked the crap out of Weatherford for many years.
After I was gone.
Yeah.
Let's put that in there.
Yeah. Well, and I think during that time that Bill and I were growing offices, we really grew a lot because we leaned into each other and the knowledge and experience that each of us built. And we really worked on creating systems that we could replicate between our 2 offices. And a lot of what we do today in our company is because of the collaboration that we did then.
100%.
And today, y'all know Bill's director of training and one of our district sales managers. Bill is like one of my first phone calls every time that something's changing and whatever, and that we need to address something. And so it's just great having a brain trust that I can call and he answers the phone. It's amazing. And we can strategize and figure out what we need to do.
And I'll say a couple other things. I love what I do, and I love the fact that we get to work together every day. But when we were growing into our positions, so 20 plus years ago, we learned some things that we should never do, and that's compare ourselves to others. And I think that one of probably the best lessons in business that I ever got in my life was learning to quit comparing myself to other people, because it does not matter.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Focus on what I'm supposed to do and do it the best that I can do, and let the chips fall where the chips may fall.
Yeah.
And everything will be great. And I think that's worked across the board, and it's worked out fantastic. And it's an amazing career. And it's fun to watch where we're going and what's happening. And it just works out great. Is it all roses?
No.
More
roses than anything else, though.
Yeah, I would say so.
Yeah. So do you think there'll be a 4th generation realtor? You think either your girls?
No. When Clara was going to, she went to the Key School in Fort Worth for a while, which is a school for kids with dyslexia and other learning differences. And so we had a lot of road time. And we would be, driving down the road, and she would hear agents call me and us talk through problems. And it's really funny because I had an agent that was so no drama that when she called me and there was drama, I got caught up in the drama. Because, as a manager, you think, okay, who's calling me? I've got to make sure I watch for the facts and don't get caught up in the drama. Well, I got caught up in the drama and gave her the most complicated solution. And I hung up the phone and Clara said, Mom, why doesn't she just do blah? And I went, oh, let's call Carrie back. Yeah. And so I called Carrie back and we had her on Bluetooth so Clara could hear too. And I said, hey, Carrie, I hung up and Clara came up with a better answer than what I gave you. And so Clara, tell her the answer. And she did. And we were both like, oh, that's brilliant. And so Carrie executed. It worked out really well. And so I think she definitely has the skill and the aptitude to do it. And, I think her passion really is in being a vet, and I hope that dream works out for her. So she probably won't. Taylor would make a great realtor too. I think about some of our top producers and how outgoing you all are and the relationships that you're able to create and garner. And that is who Taylor is. And so I think she would be good at it as well. She's studying psychology and thinks that she wants to
definitely use that in real estate.
Absolutely.
A counselor, you are more counselor than anything else.
Yeah. So it'll be interesting. If they want to do it, great. If they don't, that's great too. So
that's a great mentality to have of just, do what you want to do.
Because obviously finding it didn't keep you from being
it did not.
Well, and I think you have to do that. With Leanne, she said she would never be in real estate. And she actually went out and got a degree in fashion merchandising. And her dream job was to go to work for, I believe it was Nordstrom's or Neiman Marcus in New York City. I don't remember which, but she got the job. And then came to us before she transferred and said, I don't want to do this. I want to go back into real estate. And she's amazing at it, but I don't think any of us know what we want to do when we're going to school. Mm-hmm. Yeah. We may think we do, but very few people start and say, this is what I'm going to do, and that's what they do the rest of their life.
Right.
It's amazing to me, and if you look at public education today, we're asking our kids when they're in high school to determine their career track. And I personally think it's too early. I spoke last week at a Region 11 meeting talking about real estate and careers in real estate along with a couple of other bankers. And it was a really interesting conversation, and I was probably the most popular there because I spoke my mind as a parent more than anything. And then, there are some schools that are offering a career track so that you can graduate with a Six Sigma as a high school student or project development certifications. And to me, it's too early. And it's great that they have it, but they're missing out on so much fun and joy and ability
life
to discover who they are.
Yeah.
I mean, I think back to high school and I had a great time, and I studied and I made good grades. I wasn't number 12, but but I think back to that, and I think sometimes we're not allowing kids to be kids as we try to fix what seems to be broken in public education. I think we're fixing it the wrong way. And so I really am more of like a classical. If I had to do it all over again, I don't know that I'd make the exact same choices. My kids got a great education, but I will say the education that Clara got at Key School was more well-rounded and really grew her self-confidence in an amazing way.
Yeah, because I think there's a lot of life skill left out of public education.
Yes.
And it is what it is. You're trying to appeal to the masses, but that's like trying to serve food for the masses. There's a quality that's missing, So it's tough because that's what most people go through. But I think college is one of those things that or even life after college, you've got to have that space to figure out, okay, who am I? Who do I want to be? Do I want to be this person? And like you said, to try to pick a career at that point, something you want to do, forever.
For the rest of your life.
Yeah.
That's a lot of pressure for one. And also you don't know. There's so much of your life, of yourself to discover. And
and we all know we run into those people that are in this career that they've chosen that they hate, and it's so obvious.
Yeah.
So true.
Yeah. It's like, go do something else.
When I think back to high school, if I was really selecting then, obviously I would have tried to be a doctor. I would have failed miserably because back then too, I was trying so hard to please everybody else that I didn't take time to figure out me. So it's just an interesting quandary.
Well, and I think too many times we do try to please other people. And I wish in school, instead of pushing people into college, we would give them a choice in different career paths and different things they can look at. And there's technical schools and lots of things people can do and not graduate with tons of debt that they'll be saddled with till they're 40, 50, 60, 70 years old.
Yeah. Some school districts do a good job at that. Weatherford does well. Mansfield does really well at that as well.
So in California, they didn't. In California, your choices.
That explains everything.
Yeah, it does.
All makes sense.
Your choices were you're going in the military, you're going to college.
Or
And
you're
those were
gonna
your
go
two
surf.
choices.
You can go surf and
Go
do
surf.
either.
Yeah, you could be a hippie. So I chose 2 of those, and it didn't involve college. But
But I think that's coming around too. I think there's more people, and I think it takes the parents too, because there's a lot of pressure from parents early on. I know even my generation, it was like, that's just what you were supposed to do, you know? And I think now, and it was a badge of honor for so long, but I think now there's a lot of parents who are like, you don't have to do that. Like,
agreed.
And there's enough entrepreneurs and small business owners and things out there that are showing like, hey, you can do all this without the degree. Yeah, and the degree, it's great if you're going to, medically, things like that you really need that extra education, but not everything, needs that.
Well, I'm glad I went out and got my degree ultimately, but I'm glad I did it on my terms.
Yeah.
When I was older and mature and could understand what I wanted to do. And I do want to go back and possibly get a PhD, but that's just because I want a hobby.
Well, I think I would
'cause I need
appreciate.
it.
I think I'd appreciate school a lot more now than I would have if I would have continued. Because I just stopped and got my real estate license. I didn't finish. But I think if I were to go back now, like I enjoy learning now, where then before it was just an extension of high school.
Yeah, well, Ann's been talking about going back to school, and I'm like, well, honey, you've got to finish high school first.
Well, she got her GED, right?
Oh, she did.
Yeah.
She did. No, she's amazing. She's the smartest
She's so
person
smart.
I know.
Yeah. And she's a prime example of you don't have to go to college to be extremely intelligent and know a lot
support
about
your husband.
a lot of things. Right?
She's my sugar mama. Trust me.
We know.
I'm
We
a
know,
very
we know.
spoiled individual, and it's all because of Anna.
We know.
Well, on that note, we've got a segment.
Tales from the Lockbox.
So I found at this story, it was a school board meeting, Virginia Henrico School Board. And it was led by their chair. It's a public board meeting. It's being recorded, which is a side note. And they invited the public to put in a list of residents that might want to speak on the community's behalf. So all these names are, given to him on a list. And the poor guy was completely set up, and he starts carefully announcing the names. I can only say a few of these, but one was Phil McCracken, Eileen Dover, and Wayne Kerr. The other ones I did mark out. You guys can see it on your paper, but they're definitely not appropriate. But they said because he read them so slow that he didn't hear himself and what he was saying, but everybody else, and of course, no one's coming forward because these people don't exist. But it did get recorded, and it's gone viral. I think they were almost at 1 million views or something. So, but it made me laugh. It made me laugh really hard. This poor guy, he was probably really confused and had no idea what was going on. The Wayne Kerr is probably my favorite.
Yeah.
Wow. We probably ought to level up a little bit on that.
So I saw this great quote from Sal DiStefano.
I was about to say, is this a real name?
Yes, it's a real. As I was saying it, I was thinking yes, this is a real name. Sal DiStefano. The man who loves walking will walk further than the man who loves the destination. When you fall in love with the journey, everything else takes care of itself. When you fall, trip, pick yourself up, get up, learn, and do it over again. I think that's really great. And I think also, I will say, when you love the journey, you appreciate the destination so much more. Mm-hmm. All of the little side steps that you take to get where you are. For example, like going to school to be a doctor, which I've done, you've done. Yeah. And, all of these other things that may fall within your way, you are learning so much. And so when you finally are where you know that you are supposed to be, you just appreciate it so much more.
Absolutely.
So I think that's a great way to leave off.
I love it.
Yeah.
Well, this has been a lot of fun, and what we would like you guys to do is everywhere that you listen to popular podcasts, come on and give us a rating. It means a lot. Tell us what we're doing good, but more importantly, tell us what you'd like to hear. Tell us who you'd like to have as a guest on our podcast. And with that being said, we're the PB and Jaisy Show. We're out.
Yeah. Bye.
Just had a chat, talk this and that with PB and Jaisy.